Hi, everyone. I don't know if you can hear me, so can you let me know in the comments if you can hear me? Because my computer started doing some really weird things before I came on. I haven't been on a computer screen like this in a long time, and it actually feels weird. But if you're watching, please let me know if you can hear me. Again, I don't know. My mic started acting really funny and stuff started perfect. Thanks, Jeff. So stuff started going real crazy like before it was time for me to come on. So as long as you can hear me, then I am good and we are good to continue. So I do want to take a moment to share. This is my attempt to not have to recount the same situation over and over and over again. Um, perfect. Thank you all so much. This is my attempt to not have to recount this situation many times and to try to get it out and also answer questions if people have them. But most importantly, I just want to say it feels so weird to be back in front of the camera. So give me a second. Let me share so that people know that I'm on. Okay. And then let me mute my phone. All right, perfect. So, hey, y'all, what's up? Kimberland here. And I've been away for a little while. It's been a lot going on in my life. And I thought that the easiest way for me to update everybody and make everybody aware of what has been happening with me is to do it in mass form. As opposed to trying to answer a whole bunch of individual questions about what has been going on because it's been a lot. So, as you're coming on, I would love to know who is here with me. So, if you don't mind identifying yourselves, please do. If you do mind, that's okay. I am all right with that. But so today is what, August 11th. All right, cool. So for probably, let me look at a calendar. Um, one, for about 2 to 3 weeks now, I have been kind of offline and like there, but not really there. And I've kind of made some, I don't think they were cryptic. They weren't cryptic on purpose types of posts, but I made some posts and basically just saying that I'm not okay, that my PTSD was triggered, and I've been working through that. So I want to start all of this off first off by saying, no, I'm still not okay, but I am okay adjacent. And hey, Anjali, thank you. I'm okay adjacent, meaning there are times that I am operating perfectly normally and I am having normal conversations and I'm like doing work or whatever. Like there are those times. And then there are other times where I'm kind of just staring out of the window and trying to figure out what day it is, what am I supposed to do, like what is happening. Um, so I am physically doing amazing, right? I made some posts about I've lost over 30 pounds. I did not do it on purpose. It literally is because the food is different and my life is different and the stress of life is different. So that is going amazingly. I actually have been eating every day, which is something that people who know me, follow me, know that I struggle sometimes to eat on a daily basis. But I have been eating, and I've also been making really good food choices. So I've been eating a lot of fruit and vegetables and seafood and all of that. So physically, I'm wonderful. I feel amazing, and my skin is glowing, and all of that, right? Mentally and emotionally, though, there is a whole lot more that is going on, and a whole lot more that I have had to work through to a point where I had to make some tough decisions about stepping back and putting some systems in place that allow me to take some time to figure out what's going on. So I'm gonna give y'all the high level overview. I did record a podcast episode, which I'm going to, a part of all of this is me actually releasing these episodes that I have been recording for, to actually like mark time up to this point of where I'll just go ahead and say it. So on July 25th, it was a Tuesday. I basically had a mental health crisis. Um, Back in the day, they would call it a nervous breakdown. They don't really use that terminology anymore, they being the people in the mental health industry. But I basically lost contact with reality for, I don't know, maybe about 20, 30 minutes or so. And I'm kind of guessing because I don't really know. So I'll get back to that in a moment, but I wanted to say that so I can like stop trying to talk around it because I don't want to sound like I'm being cryptic. But God had been telling me to start recording these podcast episodes, and doing a podcast is something that I have been doing, right, with Beautiful Brown Girls for over 5 years now, almost six. And I have several other different podcasts, but God had been telling me to do a podcast for me about the things that I want to talk about and the things that are happening in my life and the lessons that I'm learning as I am navigating life. So it's been a couple years now, and it started back when I started my t-shirt line, Minding My Black Ass Business, right, which you're on these pages now. So this has been a work in progress for a while, and around June of this year, God was like, you need to start recording some things, right? And mainly it was because it was too much to write. So you all might know I have a blog on my website, and it was a lot. Like it was a lot of stuff that was coming fast. So I was like, oh, well, let me record it. So I started recording, not knowing that it was going to be a podcast, and then at some point realizing that it was going to be a podcast. So there are these series of events that I have been tracking over time, since about June, that led up, or not led up, but that tracked my mental state as I was leading up to July 25th when I had the mental health crisis. So my plan is to start releasing those as I wrap my mind around what this looks like, right? Life on the other side of it. So, as I'm alluding to podcasts, and I might say that, like that's what I'm talking about. It's not yet out. It will be out. I don't know where it's gonna be out, but it's gonna be out. Linked to Minding My Black Ass Business. So, okay, so that's that. Now, what happened? So, you all probably remember that I had gotten an opportunity to go to Miami to interview Dr. Joy, who is the founder of Therapy for Black Girls. And I was and still am over the moon excited about all of that. And along with that excitement, it brought a lot of logistical stress. Let me say it that way. So, as you all know, I live in Colombia. As you may or may not know, I live in Colombia. Okay, I live in South America in Medellin. And the last time that I had been back in the States prior to this trip to Miami was about this time last year. And I was doing some work in the States, and I was in Chicago, I was in New York, I was in places. I don't even remember all the places, but I was in the States for maybe about a month. And then I left and went back to Mexico, and I haven't been back since. So Dr. Joy and her team were offering me this opportunity, and I'm like, heck yeah, I'll be there with bells on, absolutely, right? So I accept the offer graciously. I start reading the book. I'm really excited, all of that, and then it's also time to start planning to go. Well, the reason I was like, y'all know I live in Colombia, is because I do not live in the United States. I do not have a home in the United States. I do not have a car in the United States. I do not have an address for real. Like, I don't live there. I live here in Colombia. Um, so as I was planning and trying to think about all these things, one of the things that became a really big headache, obstacle, burden was the fact that I don't have a driver's license. Now, you might be like, why don't you have a driver's license? Well, that last time that I was telling you that I was in the States, um, I had flown back to Mexico. And when I got back to Mexico, I opened my suitcase, my carry on, and found that all of my credit cards and everything had been stolen out of my wallet. You might be asking yourself, why was your wallet in your carry-on? Well, my time in the States was very stressful. And the day that I was leaving to come back to Mexico, so this was like September of 2022, um, all kind of stuff was happening. And I was just ready to go. So I was trying to get onto the plane, and they told me I had to check my bag. I wasn't thinking about, so this is when I travel, I usually have the cards that I need on me, and then I have the rest of my wallet in my carry-on. Um, and when they told me I had to check my carry-on, I wasn't thinking, oh wait, the rest of my wallet is in my carry-on. I was just ready to get on the plane because I was ready to get the hell up out the US. So I did that, and I checked the bag, and then when I got back to Mexico, I realized that they had stolen everything out of my wallet except for the Mexican pesos that were in my wallet. So I know that it happened in the US, because if it happened in Mexico, that's the first thing they would have took. But they took all of my credit cards. So I had maybe two personal credit cards, two business credit cards. I had three personal debit cards and two business debit cards. They took that. They took my license. They took my card for for the laundromat. They took my card for the metro. They took I had maybe about 20 US dollars in there. They took that. I had Dominican money in there because I had been to DR. They took that. I had Colombian pesos in there. They took that. They took everything out of my wallet except for Mexican pesos that were in my wallet. So, as you can imagine, that is a lot, right? To process. I have never really been a victim of theft. Um, so it was a lot of complex emotions that came along with it. But the main thing that was coming along with it was the fact that how many hoops I would have to jump through to replace all this stuff. And it kept coming up and kept coming up. Like, I would be like, oh, it's time to pay for my Zoom services. Oh, guess what? That can't go through. You know why? Because the card got stolen. So now, like, how am I paying for that? Or like, even when they were trying to send me the replacement cards, I was living in Mexico at the time. They're like, yeah, so we're not sending your credit card to Mexico. So then I had to send it to a friend who had to send it to me, which it was a lot. All right. So that was in September of 2022, and that has continued to pop up along the way. But not a lot though, because I finally got the cards situated and I finally like have my hands on my cards that I need and all of that. I don't drive here, right? I don't drive in Medellin and I use my passport. So I haven't had to worry about it until it was time for me to think about I'm going to Miami. How am I getting to the places that I need to go? So that reminded me that I wouldn't be able to rent a car um, because I don't have a license, or I would have to jump through a whole bunch of hoops to try to do that. And how much mental capacity would I have to be able to try to navigate that and all of that? Like it was a lot. So, after the trip to Miami, I was also going to St. Martin for the Beautiful Brown Girls Girlfriends Getaway. You may have seen those pictures, right? Absolutely beautiful time. It was just gorgeous, and I got to meet so many of our beautiful brown girls that have been following me on Brown Conversations and on my Facebook pages. Like I got to meet people in person, and that was like so awesome. Um, but as I was doing this planning, I'm thinking about those logistics as well, right? So I'm like, okay, so I got to get into Miami. I'm be in Miami. I got to do this. I got to do the event, right? Then I leave there. Then I go to St. Martin. Then I'm going to be in St. Martin. Got to do that. Then I got to get back to Colombia. It was just a lot. It was a lot. And my brain was like really, really tired. But I'm doing all of this for a really great reason. So it's all right. Everything is good. Everything is good. Everything is great. Everything is good. Everything is great, except it wasn't. So I have recorded this episode called Both and because I was talking about how excited I was. And then I was like, but at the same time, I am stressed the F out, like stressed. Okay. So I go to Miami and let me be someone to tell you as someone who no longer lives in the US and is kind of in a position of someone who would come into the country who is not a citizen. The only difference is I speak the language and I am a citizen, but it's hard to come into the US and function. So my phone is in Colombia, right? So I have a Colombia number, a Colombia service plan, like all of that, because I live in Colombia, right? So I get to the airport, and usually what happens, I go to Mexico pretty frequently. Like when I go back to Mexico, I stop at a store, I get a SIM card, pop it in my phone, good to go, and then I roll on, right? Same thing here in Colombia. You get here in the airport, grab you a SIM card, bada bing, bada boom, don't even worry about it. You're good to go. And there is also Wi-Fi publicly available in a lot of spaces. Specifically in Mexico, there's Wi-Fi almost everywhere. So I can be in Mexico City and not even get a SIM card because I can just jump from Wi-Fi to Wi-Fi. In Colombia, it's a little bit harder, but there is Wi-Fi available. That is not the case in the United States of America. So I get into Fort Lauderdale Airport, and this is somewhere around, I want to say July 8th or 9th or something like that. And um, I asked the people, like, where can I get a SIM card? And they were like, nowhere. And I was like, what you mean? Nowhere. And they were like, we don't sell those here. And I'm like, so how I'm supposed to use my phone? Like, is there Wi-Fi? Like, so the guy is like, yeah, it's Wi-Fi, but if you step outside, ain't gonna be none. So I'm like, I don't understand. Like, and then I'm putting myself in the position of someone who's coming to this country who does not speak this language, who cannot just go outside and talk to somebody and ask for help. How the hell y'all expect people to be able to come into this country and function? So that was kind of blowing me. That was kind of sticking with me or whatever when I was in Miami. So I'm in Miami. I made a post or a live. I talked about going into Target, and all of this is going somewhere, y'all. I talked about going into Target, and when I was in Target, there was this older Hispanic lady that was in Target that was looking for assistance. She needed a receipt. She was trying to get assistance from the people that were there. She only spoke Spanish. The people were extremely rude and nasty and snappy to her. They didn't even try to use Google Translate to help her. Like they were just like, we don't speak Spanish. We don't know what you're talking about, like type of thing. So I was watching that and I walked up to the lady and I said, ma'am, I do speak a little bit of Spanish. I can help you. What do you need? When she tells me she needs a receipt, all of that. So I was kind of the go between that situation. But that situation really, really, really bothered me to my core because I have been in Mexico and I have been in Colombia and I'm not fluent in Spanish. I know enough now, but I remember when I first moved to Mexico, I barely knew any Spanish and I was terrified to speak it because I wasn't doing it right. And they never treated me that way. They never treated me like I was a bother or anything. As a matter of fact, they would be so willing to go out of their own way to make sure that I wasn't inconvenienced. So they would try to speak their broken English so that I didn't have to try to figure out how to speak Spanish. So I've been there, right? And it just really broke my heart that they were treating this lady this way. And what I know is that that is how US citizens operate when it comes to people who speak a different language. We assume that they're stupid, we treat them like they're trash, we act like they're not human, and we just discard them and they're just sitting there just wanting a receipt. So that messed me up. So I was kind of keeping all of that in the back of my mind or whatever and trying to processing it along the way. Again, I did a live on Instagram about it. I did a post on Threads about it, but I really hadn't processed it because I still got to do this event, right? So I go to the event for Dr. Joy. It was absolutely amazing. We can talk about that another time, but it was phenomenal. So after that, now it's time for me to go to St. Martin. So I get to St. Martin and it's a beautiful time. I really enjoy it. Again, we can talk about all that another time. So I leave St. Martin and now it's time for me to come back to Colombia. I fly from St. Martin to Curacao on one airline, and then I had to exit out the airport, come back into the airport, and go from Curacao to Panama back here to Medellin on Copa Airlines. So I walk into the airport after I flew into the airport, walked out the exit, took a left, walked down, and walked right back in the airport, right? So I probably spent all of, I don't know, 6 minutes on Curacao sidewalk. So I walk into the airport, I walk up to the counter and I notice that the ladies are speaking Spanish. I've never been to Curacao. I don't know what language they speak there. I don't know anything. All I know is I need to get on my plane, right? So I walk up to the counter and I was like, "Hola, ¿tú hablas inglés? Do you speak English?" And the young lady was like, "Yes." So I start talking to her about I need to check in, like all the things. Well, there's a form that you have to fill out when you come to Colombia, and that form is for immigration. And I was trying to fill out the form, it wasn't working. And then her manager like got involved, and her manager was treating me like I just said that they treated the lady in Target. So she's talking to me like I'm stupid. Like I was telling her, I was like, ma'am, I don't know which flight number to put because I have 3 flights today. Like, and she was like, it's two. And it's because she was looking at the 2 flights I had on Copa, but I had just took a flight. Like, so it was a lot of navigating that and a lot of mental space, almost to the point that I almost missed my plane because she was just being so ugly and nasty to me and wouldn't let me onto the plane. And I remember like being next to tears and I was like, I need to go home. Like I need to go home. Even I had showed her my visa and she was telling me the visa wasn't good enough. Even I've used the visa to come in and out the country since I had it. So what are you talking about? Right. But she was just acting ass. So I finally get through Curacao. Okay, I get on the plane, I get to Panama, I get back here to Medellin, I get home. While I was away, I had accepted a contract to do some work in the US. So I contract with a company where I do professional development. So for any of you all who don't know, one of my main sources of income is as a educational consultant, and I work with schools in the U.S. and we primarily work on things like climate and culture and school improvement and setting up systems and things of that nature. And I also do professional development for teachers across the country. So while I was away, I had accepted a contract, two contracts actually, for two events that were in the U.S. this month. Actually, one of them was yesterday, and the other one was Monday, I think. So I had accepted those contracts. And in my mind, I was thinking to myself, like, okay, like this is a great opportunity for me to get to the States, take care of some stuff. I still have stuff in Pennsylvania that I need to get out of storage. Like, this will give me a chance to just finally be done with the US. Maybe I could get a license in case I got to come back here to visit, but at least my business will be done, right? So I accept the position or whatever. So now I'm back. So I just told y'all everything I had to do to get back here. So I'm back and I'm noticing like I'm struggling to make decisions. I'm struggling to buy these tickets. I'm struggling to just think through things. Like I just felt really, really, really foggy. And I didn't know what was going on. I definitely text a few friends at times, and I was like, "Yo, I'm not all right." Like I was really emotional. I had also made some posts on social media, and I was like, "Is Mercury and microbraids, the Venus out here jumping rope? Like what is happening?" Because I am so emotional, and I just don't know what is happening to me. So I kept trying to book the travel. Like I'm knowing I got to book the travel. Also, I had to go to Mexico for a dentist appointment, right? So I was also trying to do that. So I had changed my dentist appointment so that I could attach it to the dates that I was going to be in the States. So I was like, I'm gonna fly to Mexico, do my dentist appointment. Then I'll go to the States. I'll do these professional developments. Then I'll come back home, right? Well, that was the plan, but I couldn't bring myself to buy these tickets, like, and make these plans. Like, and time is steady passing. And the more time that you wait to buy tickets to go somewhere, the more expensive they are, right? So the only ticket that I really had to purchase was the ticket to Mexico, but time was passing and I wasn't able to bring myself to this place to buy the ticket. So, um, So I got back to Medellin. So all of this brainfall that I'm talking about, I got back to Medellin on July 16th. And then I didn't really start working again maybe until July 18th or 19th. Okay. So all of this time, those days, I'm trying to take care of this. I'm trying. Right. And it's not working. So that weekend, I'm sorry, I'm looking at my calendar because I want to like map this out for you all. Okay. So July 19th, 20th, or something like that, I start working again. And but again, it's hard. Like it's hard. Like everything that I'm trying to do is just hard. Everything. And I'm super emotional. Like all of this stuff is going on. It was just a lot. So I'm trying to work through that. And then somewhere around July 23rd, so there was some other stuff that was happening in the background, um, crazy lifetime story type stuff that happened here in Colombia and to me. So I was also processing that. And again, that's a story for another time. It's too much to even get into right now. But all of that was happening as well. And so July 24th, so I was supposed to go to Mexico on August 4th, which is that next Friday after July 24th. So July 24th, I'm like, listen, girl, you have got to buy this ticket. Like you cannot be spending $600 one way to go to like you got to buy this ticket and you got to figure out if you're using credit card points, like what you gonna do? Like you got to buy this ticket. So I'm in my closet, which you all will hear about when I release these podcast episodes. But basically, and I made a couple posts about it, but my closet has kind of become like my safe place and the place that I hear from God. So I'm in my closet. It's probably about two something in the morning, and I'm trying to buy this doggone ticket, right? So I'm like, I'm gonna use these credit card points. I'm gonna go ahead on and get the ticket on the website, filling in the information, everything, passport, all of that. Boom, boom, bada boom. Press, buy, and it don't work. And I had to do it again, and it didn't work. I had to do it a third time, and it didn't work. And I literally yelled out, "Fuck!" in the closet because I was like, what is happening right now? So I said, okay, all right. So, all right, I'm not going to focus on that no more. I'm going to try to figure something else out, right? So again, I had these contracts. By this time, when I first bid on the contracts, and when I first accepted the contracts, I didn't know where they was going to be in the US. I knew that there were maybe about 10 or 12 destinations, and I didn't say like I have to go here, have to go there. I was just like, put my name, put me in, coach, right? So when I got the contract, I found out that the events were in Indiana and Kentucky. So that was also in the back of my mind. And the situation had just happened with Jason Aldean and his song, Try That in a Small Town. Now, I don't watch US News, so I don't know how much they have talked about it, but I came across it on social media. So if you don't know, brief overview. Jason Aldean is a famous country singer. He was actually the artist that was performing during the Las Vegas mass shooting. Very much right wing, very much racist. So he creates this song called Try That in a Small Town. And the song is basically an ode to sundown towns and lynching Black people. So I had seen that and I had watched a couple things about it. So again, this whole time that this is happening, right? I'm trying to process that as well. So then when I found out that I was going to be in Indiana and Kentucky, I was like, okay, what this about to look like, right? So Indiana, I wasn't too concerned about because one of my line sisters lives there. So I was like, oh, maybe I could get to her. Like, I think that'll be fine. Like, if I can get to her. Then in Kentucky, I don't even remember the name of the city in Kentucky. I just know that I would have been flying into an airport in maybe Cincinnati, an airport in Ohio. I don't really know too much about that part of the world. Let me just go ahead on that part of the country and be very, very geographically integrous. I don't really know too much about that part of the country. What I do know is that a lot of the things that I see about that part of the country very much align with the type of mindset that I had to deal with in Pennsylvania. If you are new to my life, if you go back on my YouTube page, I started making a series of videos about why I left Pennsylvania and why I left the US and how traumatic that time was for me in Pennsylvania. And that's what all of this was about. That's the through line through all of this, right? So um, as I was thinking and trying to make these logistics, I was saying to myself, okay, all right, so you don't have a license, right? I told y'all that. So you don't have a license, which means that you can't rent a car. Okay, all right, cool. But you could use Uber. That's what I did in Miami, right? So you could use Uber. Okay, fair enough. Let me see how far it would be to use Uber, all of that. Again, it's not at my expense, so it wasn't like I was concerned about money. But it was just logistics, right? So okay, that's about 40 minutes. Cool, cool. All right, great. Then my mind started going to, okay, so you're gonna have to take a Uber from the airport to the hotel, from the hotel to the school, from the school back to the hotel, from the hotel to the airport, from that airport to the next hotel in the next state, right? So I started counting like all of these Ubers that I would have to take in Indiana and Kentucky. And I had a panic attack because all I kept thinking about was, what if I get into one of these Ubers? with someone who hates my existence just because I live in brown skin. I'm gonna be stuck because I already told you the struggle with the phone. So it's not like my phone would really be working for real, for me to be able to contact somebody. The struggle with having to be in somebody else's vehicle and at their mercy, right? So like my brain just went down a path. So it's 2:33 in the morning and I'm having a full on panic attack trying to get myself together and figure out how to buy these tickets so I can go take care of what I need to take care of, because also this is linked to my finances, right? Like I can't just not work. Like I gotta work. I'm gonna pay my bills, right? So that happened. So that was overnight, um, Sunday into Monday. So all day Monday. So Monday was July 24th. So all day Monday, July 24th, I am trying to figure out what 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 to do, right? Because I'm like, time is ticking. Like you can't keep pushing back your dentist appointments. You've got to get to Mexico. I'm at the end of my braces, so it's like I don't want to prolong this anymore. You need to earn money, like so you're gonna have to figure out how to get to these places without losing your shit. All right. So I'm trying to figure it out, but I'm also extremely emotional, can't think, can't function like at all. So that's how I was that whole day, Monday, July 24th. Tuesday, July 25th, I woke up that morning and I was just like, I'm not okay. Like, I am not okay. I don't know what is wrong with me, but I am not okay. And I remember waking up at maybe like 6 or 7 in the morning. I remember crying for I don't know 2 3 hours, cried myself back to sleep, woke back up, didn't wasn't really crying about anything in particular, but I felt like I was very alone. Like I couldn't, because I had been saying to people, I'm not okay, right? I had sent messages to my friends and I was like, y'all, like I'm not okay, right? But it wasn't friends. It was one friend in particular. And I was like, I'm not okay. Like, I don't know what to do, but I know that I'm not okay. So, I was trying to figure it out that morning, July 25th. I probably didn't get out of bed until maybe almost 2. And I said to myself, I need to take a shower. Like, I need to take a shower. I don't remember if I had taken a shower the day before or not. And any of you that struggle with depression, anxiety, that's a thing. But I was like, I've got to take a shower. And I get up out of the bed and I started my shower routine is like this whole it's a whole routine. It's the whole thing. It brings me a lot of joy actually now. And there's also a podcast episode about that because I hate bathrooms with everything in my spirit. But my shower routine has become a safe thing for me, right? So I was kind of at this point was saying to myself, if you could just get to the shower, then everything will be all right. Like you'll take a shower. That's one huge thing you could check off your list that you did today, and you'll be fine. Like everything is fine. So I start preparing for my shower. I go into my closet and I said out loud, I was like, God, I need you to tell me what is happening. I don't know what is wrong with me. Something is going on with me, and I don't know what is happening. I need you to tell me what is happening. And God said, get in the shower. So, y'all, I don't even think. So let me set the tone for you for my shower so you can kind of like get an understanding. So when I take a shower, I have green lights on. Green has been a color that has been resonating with my spirit lately. So I have green lights on. I have my essential oils on. So it's usually eucalyptus, lemongrass, possibly mint, and possibly lavender, sometimes with a little bit of orange, depending on if I'm feeling fancy. So I have my diffuser on. I have my incense, and I have this eucalyptus spray that I use to kind of set the tone. I have eucalyptus in my shower. I have my favorite bath products. It's a whole thing. I walk into the bathroom after praying in the closet and saying, God, I need you to tell me what's going on. I walk into the bathroom, and I don't think I had even opened the door of the shower. And God started talking to me. And I immediately started crying because over these past few times that I had told you, from the time that I was planning to go to Miami, through Miami, back from Miami, trying to plan to go to Mexico, I really didn't feel like I could hear God. And specifically over those past few days that I had been trying to buy those tickets to Mexico and for the trip to the US, I felt I didn't hear God. And like, I talk to God every day, all day. Like, that's my homeboy. Like, we in here chopping it up all the time. So when I got into the shower, I heard God speak to me, and I immediately started crying because I was like, where were you? Like, where have you been? What is happening to me? And this is where I lost time and my mind. Um, I'm saying it was maybe like 20, 30 minutes, and that's just because I think that's how long that it takes for me to take a shower. But I was crying so uncontrollably that I didn't hear an audible voice from God, but like God was literally like, pick up the soap, put it on your washcloth, wash your arms, wash your chest. Like God was literally instructing me through every single part of my shower. And I am crying and shaking uncontrollably. And I just kept saying, I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm afraid. I'm afraid. I'm afraid. I'm afraid. And I just kept saying that and out loud while crying and shaking uncontrollably. So, um, God was like, I know, basically. So I just kept saying, I'm afraid, I'm afraid. And God was like, I know. And I was like, I'm afraid. Like, what if they try to kill me? Like, I don't know. I'm afraid, 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 I'm afraid. And I don't know how many times I said that. And at some point, so I'm taking a shower though, this whole time, right? So I'm taking a shower. And at some point, the water turned cold. And I heard God say, okay, you got that out. Now I need you to listen. And God was like, come back, come back. So I literally was like standing in the shower, and I was like, okay, okay. And God was like, come back, come back. And I was like, okay, okay, okay. And God was like, okay. So this is what is happening. And that's when I connected all the dots of all the things that have been happening. And I realized that my PTSD had been triggered because I thought I had to go to Kentucky and Indiana. And I was terrified, absolutely terrified. And so I was able to, God talked me through the entire rest of the shower, um, and told me like some steps because I had to tell the people, like, I'm not going to be able to take this contract. Like, I was like, you're not going to Indiana and Kentucky. Like, you're not going, okay? And so I was like, okay, I have to tell them. So God was like, when we get out of the shower, we're going to write an email. We're going to tell them we're going to do this, right? But the other part of it was, I am not okay. Like, I literally just lost my whole mind in the shower. So God also said, you need to message a particular friend and give that friend some instructions about how the people in your circle can show up for you. And I remember God saying all of that. And then I was like, okay. So God kept saying, do you understand? And I was like, I understand. I understand. I understand. Like, this is me in the shower, right? So God said, so I said, do I finish taking my shower? Because I told you my shower routine is a thing, right? So I take a shower, but then I got to go back in with my two different body washes. Then I got to use my sea salt exfoliator. Then I got to use my scrub. Then like it's a whole thing. So then I was like, well, do I get out the shower and do it right now? Like I don't know what to do, right? And I also didn't know how to get an answer. So I said, God, I'm going to turn off the water because remember the water is cold. I said, I'm going to turn off the water and I'm going to turn it back on. If it's okay for me to take a shower, can you turn the water warm? If it's not okay, leave it cold and I'll get out and I'll go do what you told me to do. So I turned off the water and I turned the water back on and it got warm. So I said, okay, all right. So I finished taking my shower and I got out of the shower and I did what God told me to do. So I sent the message to my friend and I said, hey, um, I just had a nervous breakdown in the shower. I am not okay. Somebody is on their way over here to me. I need you to contact these people and say these things. It's okay for this person to call me. Tell this person I'll get with them later. I need y'all to talk to each other because I'm here, but I'm not really here. So that friend said, okay, and executed that. Then I wrote the email to the company and I basically was like, hey, so my professional integrity is very important to me. My professional reputation is very important to me. I just had my PTSD was just triggered and I'm not going to be able to go to the contracts in the US. I'm so sorry, but I can't do it. Um, and I sent that. So then God was like, okay, so now I need you to come back to yourself, right? After I made that decision, or after God made the decision and I sent the email, I felt like I could function. I felt like I could see, I felt like I could hear, I felt much calmer. I still knew I wasn't okay, but I very much felt like I could function. So after that happened, I actually ate. I was listening to music. I think I had danced a little bit that day. So, but that was the thing. Like the thing was those contracts and having to come back to the US just totally sent me over the edge. So that's what happened. That's what happened. And since then, um, I've had some more panic attacks. Um, and it is always and usually tied to something that is happening in the US. Um, I made some posts recently and I was like, are y'all okay? Because I am very concerned and I don't live there, but are y'all okay? Because there's so much happening right now. And I feel like, and this was me when I was in the US, like we have to compartmentalize in a way that makes us disassociate from ourselves, from our bodies, from our life in order to survive. And because I don't have to live that way here in Colombia, and because that's something that I've been working on is reconnecting to my body and reconnecting to my intuition and all of that, I feel things much more deeply than I did when I was in the US. So it's a lot. It's a lot that's happening there right now. And my processing of my relationship with this country that I was born and raised, this country that I don't know if y'all know this about me, but I used to be really, really, really patriotic. Like every time I used to see an American flag, I used to stop and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Or I would try to say it as fast as I could. Like if we were driving in the car, I would be like, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which is there, one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Like, and it was because we had to say it every single day at school for 180 days a year for 12 plus years, 13, 14 years, depending on how long that you were in school. And it's weird to now be in a situation where I do not feel like I belong there. I do not feel like I am safe there. I do not feel like I ever want to be there. And it's hard because I live here in Columbia with myself, right? So it's not like I can be like, oh, my family is here and it's totally fine. My family is still in the US. My friends are still in the US. Everybody that I love and care about is in the US, with the exception of a few people that I have met along this path of leaving the US. But other than that, everybody that I care about is in the United States of America. And I am so grieved and concerned about you all. And that is what I have been working through of what does it look like for me to unplug. Like sometimes there are days where, because if you go on social media, you're going to see something, right? So my social media feeds or my different pages are curated differently, right? So there are some pages, like one page I go to, and that's where I find current events that are happening so that I can talk about it with beautiful brown girls or whatever. I have another page where, so that's over on Kimberly J. Then on Minding My Black Ass Business, I have more of the foolishness. Like that's where like all kinds of crazy foolishness happens, the laughing, the puppies, the like the things. I don't want to have to think about that. Then for instance, like on Threads, that's a very therapeutic space for me. So those are the types of people that I follow. But whenever I have to tap in and I have to pay attention to what is happening, it usually triggers me again. And one of the most recent things is the situation that happens in Montgomery. And I know that we were, we know, collective we, black people, we know how to make lemonade out of lemons, right? We know how to um, laugh to keep from crying. We know how to um, survive. And what I saw in that Montgomery Melee Riverfront Brawl, Fades Giving, whatever people are calling it, was decades and centuries of trauma that has been built up in a group of people saying, we not taking this no more. We are sick and effing tired and we are not doing this anymore. And I shared the pride, right, of all the people that jumped in and all of that. But also, there's a lot of trauma that is coming out of that. And that's something else that we're having to carry of watching that video over and over again. And granted, it has a really great end, right? It's kind of like watching Django. If y'all have seen Django with Jamie Foxx, is like it's the atrocities and how bad things are. And then there's this happy ending, but we still had to go through all of this shit to get here. Like that's what I feel like I'm watching. And I often feel extremely helpless because, again, I don't live in the US. So I feel like I'm limited in what I can do in order to help people process, in order to help people manage. And then all of this is happening at a time where I'm trying to figure out what day it is, right? So it's just been a lot of compounded stuff, for lack of a better way to put it. And I am doing my best every day, um, to let each day be a new day and allow whatever the focus for that day is to be placed in front of me. Which, if y'all know me, I used to be a planner. Like, wake up and see where the day unfolds. Who does that, right? But that's kind of where I am, and I feel like I most times cannot think. There are times where I'm able to tap in and be like really, really productive and amazing and have these amazing conversations. But outside of that, I'm just trying to figure out what day it is. Like, I really just be like, I don't even know what day it is. I don't even know what is happening. Um, I don't like, I just lose time sometimes. So I'm working through all of that. And like I said, I wanted to come on and recount this for a few reasons. One, because it's easier this way, and I don't have to say this bunches and bunches of times. It's recorded. I can send it to people. Like, you want to know what happened, listen, like all the things. But the other part is that I pride myself on being very transparent and using my life experiences to help other people. And I feel like there are some of you all who are listening now, or people who might listen to this later, who actually might be feeling this way, or this may have happened to you, or maybe you are two steps from where I was, because a few things emerged out of this that I think are extremely important. One of the things that emerged out of this was paying attention to what's happening in my body, right? And in my mind. Um, Good, Angela. I'm glad this can help. Um, I was so busy and I was trying to do so much that I wasn't paying attention, because let the truth be told, I started this out telling y'all about what that the last time I was in the States was in August, September of 2022. I have slowly been having a mental breakdown since then. And when I go back and I look at the different things and I look at what happened and I look at the moments, where I felt on the brink of a panic attack, maybe not necessarily a panic attack, but I felt close. This has been pending for a while. And finally, the straw broke the camel's back, and here we are. So that's one thing, right? Is what is understanding what my baseline is so that I am able to properly care for myself and pay attention to what's happening to me so I can catch it before it gets to this point. The other thing that came out of it is I very much have a, if it's got to be done, if it's gonna get done right, then let me just do it, because I ain't got time for you to be sitting up here messing up my reputation type of person. And I've been spending probably since the beginning of this year, January, February of this year, creating a lot of systems, because I don't believe in things dying with the person that owns them, right? So I believe in leaving legacy. I believe in leaving instructions, like all of that. So I've been working on a lot of systems to put that into place. And I didn't realize at the time that that's what I was doing and that I was going to need to use those systems. But when it came time for me to press pause on Beautiful Brown Girls, and it came time for me to press pause on my life coaching classes and like all the other things that I'm doing, I was able to rely on those systems. So my urge is that you all start thinking about the things that you have to do and what might that look like if you weren't able to do that. Who can do those things, and how can you lead them instructions for that? To that point, the biggest thing I think that has come out of all of this for me is really thinking about self-care and safety plans. And self-care is something that I talk about consistently. We talk about it on Beautiful Brown Girls all the time. I talk about it all the time on my own platforms. Even in my life coaching programs, we make self-care plans. I talk about why it's important. It's not just about getting massages and manicures and pedicures. Like, it's really about paying attention to yourself and doing the things that need to happen for you to be safe and sound. Um, like eating, right? Which I told y'all I struggle with that. So a part of this process was activating, and a part of my wellness plan was activating this chain of people that were able to show up for me and were able to help me think through some things, help me process, help me take a step back so that I don't have to still feel like I have to be present. Because if you have ever been in a situation, whether it is depression, anxiety, PTSD being triggered, what have you, it takes a lot of energy to make decisions. It takes a lot of energy to be able to show up, right? So when I first started this, I was like, I haven't done this in so long, it feels foreign to me. And y'all know I stayed like Beautiful Brown Girls, we had a show every week. Like, we out here, we popping it, right? But I haven't for a while now. And because it took a lot. Like, it took a lot for me to be able to sit here and recount this and share this and all of that, right? So I think it's important for us to have these safety and self-care plans where if I was in crisis, who is the person that I would call, and who are the other people that are on my list? Who is that first line of defense that I have in my life where they are able to make sure I'm okay? So, like I told you all, I made a call. Somebody came here to be with me. So they had eyes on me from somebody here. They were talking to each other with the people that were in the US, and they were orchestrating things and navigating things. Somebody was assigned to call me and do a processing. Somebody else was assigned to do check-in. Somebody else was assigned to make sure that I ate. Somebody else was assigned to make me laugh. It's like everybody had these assignments. I didn't give them, they selected, I guess. But there was a plan. There was a plan. And I feel like it wasn't conscious. It wasn't a conscious plan. It was a plan that God told me to do at the time. And He told me who was supposed to be on the plan, but it wasn't something I had done consciously. So it's really made me think about making sure that we have conscious plans in the event that I cannot function the way that I was able to function before. And what I know is that plans like that save lives. And plans like that give us permission to be able to take a step back and say, I am not okay. And I need some time. So that I am okay adjacent. I am okay-ish. I am sometimes okay, and sometimes I'm not. And I need time to really process all of this. I need time to not have to be present and on stage. I need time to hear from God. I need time to give myself grace and space to heal, and time to really, really decide what it means to me to be someone who is a US citizen. And I don't have answers for any of those things. I don't have answers about much of it. Somebody emailed me or messaged me yesterday or maybe the day before, and they were like, Kimberly, oh my God, how are you? And they were like, when are you coming back to the States? And I was like, never, if I could help you. Never. Definitely not to live. Mm-mm. There's not a reason that I can think of to come back to the States to live. No. And that's crazy to me. That's crazy to me. I'm from there. That's home. So I need to process that and I need to think through that and I need to figure out what that means for me. So, what now, right? What from here? So, if you're wondering how you can support me or what have you, it will be really helpful for you to share this with somebody. Um, I think that there are a lot of people who can resonate with what I shared. And I think that there are a lot of people who need to hear what I shared. So that would be helpful for you to share. And it would also be helpful to me for you to think about what your plan is and how you are actually doing. Because we ask that question, we ask people how they're doing all the time, and we rarely internalize their actual response, and we rarely give real responses when people ask us that. We say things like, I'm fine. Oh, good. Another day, another dollar. Or just out here, same stuff, different day. Like we use all of these like terms and stuff that do not answer the question, how are you doing? So, something that would help me is for you to actually ask yourself how you are doing in real life and allowing yourself to give an honest and transparent answer and allowing yourself to hold space and get curious about what that answer is. Your answer might be that you are absolutely phenomenally stupendous, and that is amazing. I still ask the same question of why. What is it about your life right now that is making it absolutely phenomenally stupendous? Because we want to keep that up, right? Or your answer might be that I'm struggling, and that's okay too. And sometimes we're struggling and we don't know why we're struggling. But the validation and legitimacy that it gives to be able to say, I am struggling. And that is why I have been so candid in sharing what happened to me, because I think we do ourselves a disservice when we pretend that everything is okay and we show these highlight reels and everything is just wonderful and I'm just skipping and frolicking and all of that, which I do. But there are also many days where I'm like, yeah, nah. Like, I don't even know what I really did yesterday. I don't know. I don't know. I know that I clearly was there, right? Because I'm here today. So I clearly was there yesterday, but I don't know. And sometimes that's what my days are like. And sometimes that might be what your days are like. And you need to be able to have space to exist. So um, share, check in with yourself. If you are not already connected to me on Minding My Black Ass Business, well, clearly you're here, right? So there's some kind of way that you found this. But on my Instagram page, on my YouTube page, on my Facebook page, Minding My Black Ass Business is where I will be sharing this journey. There it will kind of leak over into my Kimberlyn J spaces, but it really is going to be housed in the Minding My Black Ass Business space. So if you have not already, I would be very appreciative if you would like the pages, if you would subscribe to my YouTube page, if you would follow me on Instagram, all of that. And lastly, I appreciate all the prayers, all the messages, all the concern, all the thoughts. I do my best to go back and at least like it. Sometimes I don't have capacity to write a whole dissertation, but I do see them and they do make a difference and they do matter. So thank you for that. That also helps. And I'm deeply appreciative of that. So, having said that, I do not know when I will be dropping the podcast. I do know that it will be coming within the next couple weeks. I do know that there are some other times that I'm going to need to come back on and say things, but I don't really have guarantees about time or frequency right now. Okay. But what I can say is I will let y'all know when things are happening, and I will keep you all posted about what my life looks like and the directions that it is going. So I appreciate y'all for listening. I appreciate you all for receiving everything that I have shared. I don't know if there were any questions. Um, I do have space to answer questions if you are wondering. Thank you all. I see the comments. Um, So I will kind of pause for a moment if there are questions or things that you're wondering about. I will say one of the questions that I got asked as I was sharing with someone in that inner circle what happened is she said, was I afraid was I afraid of what was happening to me in the shower? And I wasn't. I wasn't afraid. Um, my screaming out I was afraid was about me going to the US. Um, I was not afraid while I was in the shower and I was making those connections because God was right there with me. And I can honestly say that is probably the biggest thing that I have gotten out of this experience is an even deeper connection with God and an even deeper connection with my faith and an even deeper connection of knowing that when I hear a voice, that it is God's voice and knowing that it is time for me to do something and time for me not to. So for instance, today, I'll kind of walk y'all through the steps that led me here and then I'll let y'all go. Again, if you have questions, please put them in the chat. But this is kind of the sequence of events that happened today. So this morning, I woke up. I had zero plans for the day, zero. And at some point, I got out of the bed and I ordered some groceries and the groceries came, right? So I'm out the bed. Okay, so I'm putting away the groceries and I had opened my phone to look at something on YouTube, and I saw that PJ Morton had put out a new version of his last album, Watch the Sun. If y'all know anything about me, I love PJ Morton. He is my absolute favorite music artist in the entire world. PJ and I actually grew up in the same church. If you don't know anything about PJ Morton, his father is Bishop Paul Morton, world renowned pastor, singer, author, all the things, right? So PJ is Bishop Morton's son. And PJ and I are the same age. We went to uh, sister schools. So I went to Xavier Prep in New Orleans. He went to St. Aug in New Orleans. We kind of overlapped in our circles a little bit. But let's just say like this, PJ and I are like 1 degree of separation apart from each other, right? I don't have his number, like I'm not calling him all of that, but we know the same people. And I've seen him from his first solo in Greater St. Stephen's, No Weapon, where he was um, singing for the first time, to now get into this place of being a Grammy Award winning artist, songwriter, all things musical genius. So anyway, so PJ put out this new Watch the Sun live version of his album. And I was listening to it, and mind you, the album came out 1 year ago. And 1 year ago, I was in the US. And I remember when I had finally got back to Mexico, I was sitting in the park and I was listening to the album. And I would listen to it on repeat. I'm a repeat type of girl. Like, I would listen to the same song over and over again. Don't bother me none. All right. But anyway, so I was like, oh, I wonder what PJ did with this live version, because your boy is a genius. Okay. And I started listening to the live version, and it was like it was my whole life. It was like it was my entire life. The good parts, the sad parts, like it was so nuts. I was in here crying, like, oh my God, like this is everything. And while I was listening to it, God was like, and now you need to go talk. So that is how I even got here, right? So my relationship with God has just deepened so much that I am able to receive messages and receive instructions from things that seemingly have nothing necessarily to do with God, but God is sending me messages all the time, numbers, words, emails, like all the time. So that is something that I can say I am very grateful for out of this experience. But all the rest of it, I really don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know much of anything right now. I am literally operating on a day to day basis. And I'm doing my best. Every day I wake up and I do my best. And I am learning to be okay with that, even when my best looks different on different days. So that's all. I have to say, I appreciate y'all for listening. I appreciate you all for sharing. And I appreciate you all for receiving what it is that I had to share. I'll be back soon. I don't know when soon is, but I will be back soon so that I can add some additional context to what I am discovering. But until then, again, please make sure that you are connected to me on Instagram at Kimberlyn J and at Minding My Black Ass Business, on Facebook at Kimberlyn Jackson, and at Minding My Black Ass with two Z's Business, and on YouTube and Patreon at Minding My Black Ass Business. I appreciate y'all. I will be in touch. I love you all deeply. And bye for now.